arrived home from work at my usual time, just after 6 in the evening. As I approached the door and stepped into the kitchen, I paused momentarily. There stood Ashley, diligently pressing a sleek black dress at the ironing board. In that instant, I felt a wave of confusion wash over me. I questioned whether I had forgotten any prior commitments we had made, a thought that surprisingly brought a smile to my face. I always cherished our outings. There was an effortless charm about how she illuminated any space she occupied. Her hazel eyes, naturally curly auburn hair, and toned physique, maintained through yoga, captured attention, including that of other men, which always filled me with a quiet sense of pride. She was mine. "Hey babe," I said, loosening my tie as I stepped further into the room. "What's the special occasion?" She remained focused on her task, not looking up from the fabric beneath the iron. "You won't believe who I ran into today," she replied, her voice tinged with excitement. "Who?" I asked, leaning against the counter while still adjusting my tie. "Jake," she said matter-of-factly, her hands continuing their rhythmic motion across the dress. The name hit me like a punch to the gut. For a few seconds I couldn't place it, and then it clicked. Jake, her high school ex. She nodded slightly, her eyes still trained on the garment. "Yeah, crazy, right? I saw him at that coffee shop near my office." The name echoed in my mind. He was the one she had often spoken of, her first love who left for college on the other side of the country and hadn't looked back until now, after Ashley and I had started dating. She was still healing from that breakup. Our relationship began as a friendship and gradually evolved into something more profound. I cleared my throat, attempting to sound casual. "So, what's he doing in town?" "He's here for work," she replied nonchalantly. "He's a sales rep now and does a lot of traveling. We chatted for a bit, and we're going to grab dinner tonight to catch up." My stomach twisted at the mention of dinner. "Just the two of you?" I repeated. "Yeah," she said with a soft smile. "Just to reminisce and share some old memories, that's all." I couldn't muster a smile in return. Something felt off about it. "I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that, Ash," I said cautiously. "You're going out with your ex alone. That doesn't feel right to me." She sighed, setting the iron down. "Michael, come on. It's not like that. It's not some romantic thing. I thought you wouldn't want to sit through a conversation about things that happened before we even met. You'd be bored to tears." "Whether it's boring or not isn't the point," I replied, my tone growing serious. "I'm your husband. This isn't about boredom. It's about boundaries. You and your ex are going to dinner, just the two of you. That doesn't seem respectful. Imagine if I said I was having dinner with Lauren from college and asked you not to come along. How would that go over?" She rolled her eyes. "I trust you, Michael. I know you love me. This is harmless. You're blowing this out of proportion." "Am I?" Shot back. "You're ironing that black dress, the one you know turns heads. If it's just a casual meetup, why not wear something simple?" Her jaw tightened and she set the dress aside, looking at me. "I like looking good when I go out. There's nothing wrong with that. You're acting like I've done something wrong just because I want to look nice." "This isn't about trust," I insisted. "It's about how this looks, what it implies. I'm not okay with this, Ashley. Either I come with you or you don't go." That struck a nerve. Her voice rose sharply. "You're not my father, Michael," she snapped. "I'm a grown woman. I'm going, and you don't get to control that." She grabbed the dress from the ironing board and stormed off toward the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. The silence that followed was deafening. I stood there for a long moment before opening the fridge, grabbing a soda, and sitting down at the kitchen table, my mind racing. We had always managed to talk things through and find our way back to understanding, but this felt different. It felt like a boundary she was unwilling to allow me to question. When she finally emerged from the bedroom, dressed and ready to go, she looked incredible. The dress hugged her figure in a way that indicated she had put considerable thought into her appearance. Her hair was elegantly pinned up, styled with meticulous precision that felt out of place for a casual evening. She paused beside the table, leaned in, and placed a gentle kiss on my cheek. "We'll talk when I get back, all right?" she murmured. But I was in the mood for soft reassurances. "We've already talked," I replied, staring down at the soda in my hands. "You made it clear that my feelings don't factor into this. Go ahead and do what you want, but don't expect me to pretend I'm okay with it." Her jaw tightened, her expression turning cold. "I'm not sleeping with him, you jerk. It's just dinner." She turned abruptly and left, slamming the door behind her. That night, I crawled into bed earlier than usual, hoping sleep might quiet the turmoil in my mind, but thoughts kept spiraling. Where was she? What were they discussing? What kind of connection did they still maintain? Around 10 p.m. I heard the front door open. She didn't say a word, heading straight to the bathroom as usual, taking a quick shower before slipping beneath the covers. Her skin brushed against mine as she settled in. "Hey babe," she whispered, her voice low and suggestive. "What do you say to some makeup sex?" I turned toward her, my tone flat and devoid of emotion. "Not really in the mood, Ash. I'd just be wondering who's on your mind." She let out a frustrated sigh. "Seriously, you think I got turned on by Jake and then brought that home to you? Did you?" asked, keeping my voice steady. "No, that's not what I meant. I'm here with you because I love you. Why is that so hard to believe?" "Because you don't understand why this eats at me," I said, sitting up in bed. "I'm your husband. Matter. But now that Jake's back, it feels like I'm just an obstacle." She fell silent, her gaze dropping to the blanket between us. "You're right," she said after a long pause, her voice barely a whisper. Seeing him again threw me off. I didn't handle it well. "Sorry. Can you forgive me?" I sighed and pulled her close. "Yeah, I forgive you." That night we made love, and for a brief moment, I let myself believe that the worst was behind us. I wanted to think we were moving forward, that we would weather this storm together. But 2 weeks later she called me at work. "Hey, I have to stay late tonight. There's this big project with a tight deadline," she said casually. I froze mid-sip of my drink. "Late on a Wednesday?" "Yeah, just some extra stuff to catch up on," she replied easily. I didn't like how that sounded. Wednesday was the day Jake was supposed to travel. "Okay," I said, forcing my tone to remain nonchalant. "See you later." As soon as I hung up, that uneasy feeling crept back in. I told myself I was being irrational, but the doubt lingered. I needed to know. So, I grabbed a couple of burgers and made an unplanned stop at her office. I took the elevator up, signed in, and knocked on her glass office door. She looked up and smiled, walking over to unlock it and pulling me into a hug. "Well, thought you might be hungry," I said, handing her the bag. "That's really sweet," she said, her eyes lighting up. "But we'll need to make it quick. I still have a pile of work." We ate quickly, chatting about small things. I kissed her goodbye and left, feeling a bit foolish for suspecting anything. Maybe the dinner with Jake had truly been a one-time occurrence. But 2 weeks later it happened again. Another Wednesday, another late night. I wanted to believe her, to trust her, yet the doubt remained. It clung to me for weeks until one Friday evening, I found myself at a semi-annual work dinner, jokingly referred to as Christmas in June. It wasn't my scene, but I made polite conversation, sipped my soda, and mingled. That's when I met Karen. Older, sharp-eyed, and no-nonsense. "I manage the office and handle project assignments," she said while shaking my hand. Chuckled lightly. "So, you're the one keeping Ashley busy late into the night, huh? Making me spend my evenings alone." Karen's brow creased. "What do you mean?" "You know," I said casually. "Those special deadlines she's been handling lately." Karen looked genuinely perplexed. "Ashley hasn't had any major project assigned to her recently. We've had a few, but they were given to others. Sometimes she stays late, but usually it's because she took an extended lunch or ran errands during the day." Chill ran through me. I forced a smile, made an excuse to exit the conversation, and my mind raced. Extended lunches, no assignments. I had trusted her, believed her words, and now I felt like a fool. All those late nights, especially the Wednesdays, began to look suspicious. Maybe they had shifted the schedule to throw me off. Or maybe I was losing my mind. Regardless, I needed confirmation. The following Thursday, I borrowed my friend James' truck and parked across from her building around noon. Waited. Sure enough, she emerged hand in hand with a man, tall, dark-haired. Had to be Jake. They laughed as they walked through the parking lot, completely at ease. My hands trembled as I lifted my phone and snapped several photos. They didn't glance around or hesitate. They climbed into a gray sedan and drove away, followed at a safe distance. A few miles later, they turned into a run-down motel. No check-in, no pause at the front desk, as if this was routine. I parked a few blocks away, far enough to remain unnoticed, and watched as Jake led her into one of the rooms. At the door, she leaned in and kissed him, slowly, deliberately. My gut twisted with anguish, but I kept snapping photos. Her wedding band still glinted on her finger. Perhaps that made it all the more thrilling for him. I sat in the car, numb, for what felt like an eternity, already planning my next move. I called a lawyer the following morning and took a few days off work. By mid-afternoon, around 2:30, she emerged from the motel, smoothing her hair, her dress crumpled at the sides. I didn't need any further evidence. That evening she called, as expected, claiming to be stuck at the office. Played along. "All right," I told her. "You usually call when I'm running late," she added. When she finally came home, she was in a good mood, light and playful. "What's going on?" she asked, grinning. "Just got busy organizing stuff in the garage," I lied. "Lost track of time." She laughed softly. "Hope these late nights end soon." "They will," I replied. "Or I'll have them assign the project to someone else," she said casually. I nodded, already certain that tonight's excuse would be her last. I had separated our finances and set everything in motion. I wouldn't follow her again. I had more than enough. The next Thursday, I let her call go unanswered. I ordered takeout, barely tasting it, and began packing. Just my essentials. The rest could stay. By 7 o'clock, everything I needed was ready. At 7:25, Ashley walked through the door, all smiles as if nothing had happened. "Hey babe," she said, tossing her purse onto the counter and leaning in to kiss me. I pulled back, my expression blank. "We need to talk," I said. She blinked, confused. "Okay, hang on, let me just—" "No," I interrupted, nodding toward the table. "Now." We sat down at the table where we had once shared quiet mornings and weekend plans. She smiled, likely expecting a casual conversation about home improvements. I maintained a calm tone. "Those late nights. How are things going at work?" "Great," she replied cheerfully. "They love what I'm doing. I might even get promoted." "Good to hear. So what exactly are you working on?" She hesitated. "Just some reports, data analysis, regional numbers." Her vague responses weren't satisfactory. "Is there anything else you want to come clean about?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away. "Only that I love you," she whispered. I shook my head slowly. "I thought I believed that too until I learned about you and Jake." She groaned, irritated. "Michael, not this again. I haven't seen him since that dinner a few months ago." "No," I slid my phone across the table, revealing a photo of her and Jake outside the motel. Her hair disheveled, looking frazzled, shoulders slumped, fingers trembling. I pushed the divorce papers towards her. "Please, Michael," she whispered. "It was a mistake. I swear we can fix this. Therapy, anything." "No, Ashley," I said firmly. "Cheating isn't something I can overlook. You were my wife. You lied to me. That's not love, that's betrayal." Tears welled in her eyes. "It wasn't about you. I do love you." Being around him just stirred up old emotions. The first night it really was just dinner, but he stayed on my mind. Couple of weeks, Ashley blinked, struggling to hold back emotion. "He's a good man," she said thickly. "Hold on to him. Don't make my mistake." Olivia smiled. "I will," she said, displaying her ring. Ashley stared, clearly shaken. "Congratulations," she murmured. "I thought maybe with time." "I understand," I began, but Olivia gently interrupted. "I'd like to get to know you actually," she said, her voice kind but firm. "You helped shape the man I love. Maybe we could be friends." Ashley let out a short, dry laugh. "Someone once told me I should have listened." She stood to leave. "Stay a little longer," I said, but she shook her head. "I can't," she replied, walking out. Months later I proposed by the lake. Her yes illuminated every corner of my world. Together we built a life rooted in trust, love, and honesty. Ashley faded into memory. As I looked at Olivia, laughing beside me, I knew one thing for certain. Sometimes the best things are born from the worst experiences, and finally I had everything I ever needed.